All right. Welcome to Facilities Unfiltered, the built reality, where we navigate the space where theory meets real-world chaos. I'm Josh Lau. I'm one of the co-founders of Akita Box, and I'm joined here with Nick. I almost called you Nate again. Gedney. I will get your name right probably maybe by the end of this year. I should really practice it before we do these things. That's okay. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, that's okay.
Today's topic, or the episode name, I guess, what we're doing here is the VE hangover and the operational aftermath. That's a mouthful, but basically means that from our experience, facility managers are kind of left out of the loop until maybe it's too late and we've made some bad decisions, and something we really want to dig in here today. So, I'll let Nick talk here in a minute, but let me set the stage for us, Nick, as we kind of want to investigate this, right? Hey, I spent half my career on the construction management side, managing projects, spending time with architects and engineers, pre-construction, construction, you name it, turnover. And frankly, I realized that maybe we did some things wrong, and maybe we knew we were doing some things wrong in the moment, but there wasn't a better way to do it. And hey, we're at the ribbon cutting ceremony. The architects just won a bunch of design awards, and we're all cracking champagne because we met the budget. But in order to do that, we did some things called value engineering. And value engineering lets us get construction done under cost, but very likely we didn't look at total cost of ownership. We didn't look at some things, and we probably sacrificed some things behind the scenes as opposed to the fancy teak wood that we put out front. That, oh, by the way, you need to do some extra maintenance too. And, we didn't really think about life cycle value of what that would mean to the operations team. And so that being said, that being kind of the scenario that we're looking at, let's dig in a little. I mean, what's your experience with this?
Well, let's unpack it, right? What is VE? It's a line item on a budget for people that are likely never going to step foot in the building a year later. And I don't mean that to be abruptly rude. It's just we all got jobs to do, and we're going job to job, right? And so us as the FMs, we live in it. And the best case scenario I ever had was an owner's rep came to me. He goes, "Hey, bud, I really like kind of surfer dude, but he's done a bunch of huge projects, super laid back. He had a 6-pack in his car when I first met him. Cool guy. But anyway, beyond there, he goes, "Has anybody shown you the RFP or the bid specs?" I said, "No, they sure as hell haven't. It would be nice if they did. I've never seen that." And he goes, "All right, I'm going to book 3 days with you. And we're going to go front to back. And I know you've been putting together standards for the district. And we're going to see if we can match this up, or, there's things we want to do." Ideal scenario. I'm in day one. I'm part of the OEC meetings, and we're having the conversations, and I'm able to put my input in. That doesn't always happen. It took 17 years of my career for that to happen. Now, maybe that was my mistake, right? Classically, what we see is A, the facility manager doesn't get the invitation. B, they get it only when they're thought to be needed. Or C, they get invited, but I've got a burning furnace or valves that are blowing up. I don't have the time to be here. And frankly, nobody's listening when I talk anyway, because being in those meetings, there are some tensions naturally between CMs and architects, and you throw an FM there as well, and there's 3 tension points all about ready to burst.
Yeah, I mean, something that we've talked about before, and, it's the whole idea of sometimes when we're in those meetings, to your point, tensions running high. Tensions are running high because the only budget they're looking at in that instance is that CapEx budget or that construction budget, right? And so this is where I think we get a little short-sighted and not to the detriment. I mean, you can't really blame the construction industry or the architects and engineers because it's the game they're dealt, right? And they're playing it how it's laid out there to be played. But what ends up happening is that in some cases we're trying to save $1 in CapEx, and it's going to cost us $10 in OpEx down the road. By saving that $1, that's no longer value engineering. We're creating debt at that point. And I think, that's part of the conversation that I think you and I are trying to have here is, well, not that we're going to solve the world's problem today. I'm not that
No, no.
skewed in what we're doing here. But, how do we start to address these things and how do we make it more normalized? Not only maybe to involve the FM earlier or use their input, but also to your point, I think there's introspection on both sides that needs to happen. And how does that FM come to the table maybe more prepared? Or, something that we've talked about before is it seems gnarly to kind of create an entire spec to give to your engineers for every standard you have when frankly most of your buildings are aging and you never want to install anything you have maybe now other than a few things. How do you use that first construction spec to maybe start you on your way of having some sort of builder or facility management spec where you say, you know what, hey, I know there's some novel equipment that we're going to put in this thing, but if we put in 1 to 10 horsepower motors, this is the brand I want because I have people who can work on them. We have parts on, the shelf. I already have 20 of them on site. I don't want another brand. There's some easy kind of wins in there that I think, if the FMs are armed better and the construction management team's willing to listen, I think there's some easy wins in here for both sides.
I would agree. I mean, I think there's very few times we go into a job and you have a set design spec, right? A set replacement spec. Maybe you're in a large organization and you have a division that's solely for that, but it's just not very often. But us as FMs, even without software or major analytical dashboards, we still understand in general product total cost of ownership just through experience. So there's a starting point there, right? And if you don't have one, that's great to incorporate into conversations. I can tell you there's a particular brand of panic bars that I adamantly fought against every single construction project because every architect wanted to spec them out, but they were a pain in the neck to maintain constantly. So to your point, if you don't have them, take your knowledge in that construction meeting, in those initial meetings, and say, hey, let's switch these up. And then you now have, after the time of completion, a standard specifications that you can start replacing old fixtures out with, whether it's panic bars, light fixtures, door handles. Most of us have common key cylinders, but I have been in facilities where we have literally had to start with the newest cores, and then start switching everything else out around it.
So I didn't get the reaction that I thought I would when I brought up teak wood, but out of sake of rounding this out with architectural design decisions that don't necessarily equate into cost-effective maintenance decisions, I know you have a story about teak wood somewhere in there, Nick.
Okay, so this was maybe 4 years ago. They spec out this just beautiful soffit / outdoor hallways, but it's all wood, and it's the architect's golden piece. Now, mind you, it looks beautiful, and they never told me what the maintenance plan was for it. And this is one of those ones I was kind of in and out, and finally I go, hey, what, after it's installed, you guys sealing this? What are you guys doing with this? And they said, oh, you guys twice a year are going to be applying teak stain or rub down or whatever it was. And I look at him and I go, you think we have the time for that? We didn't have the time for that. We'll just do it over summer. In an educational environment, your 2 months that you have in the dead heat of summer are already so crammed. I don't have time to go rub down tens of thousands of square feet of wood. And he looked at me like I was crazy. Like, why wouldn't you do this? This is the centerpiece. It's not practical for my operations to do that when I have 12 other buildings that are decades old.
That was the reaction I was looking for when I brought up teak. You know, look, these are all great points, and you know, I agree with everything that you're saying. You know, for anybody that's insane enough to listen to us for this amount of time, what are thoughts? I mean, as we kind of wrap this up and you know, try to leave some maybe things again, you know, blue sky versus reality. You know, blue sky is, hey, the FM actually has their own design spec that they hand to an engineer that the engineer works off of because they know these are the standard parts that they keep in stock and this is what they know how to work on. That's blue sky. That's not reality in most cases. How do we start to kind of bridge the gap between that and something realistic that we can all kind of chew on a little bit and get some value out of?
So I think we talked about a couple of them, right? If you don't have a standard spec, start off with a new construction project. It's a great opportunity to do that. I think in facilities, we're really good at what we have, doing the research to find out how to take care of it. So can we invest that initial time to, hey, this is what they're speccing out. I don't know about it. Let me do that same research I would do after the construction project. Let me just do it early to give my input before it's installed, right? I think that's the number one takeaway we can do. And a lot of us feel like, and I've certainly been that person, I don't have the time. Well, I think our argument is you need to prioritize the time because it's going to be exponentially more later down the road. In the example of me noticing the wood at the end of the project.
Well, and to that point, right? I mean, I think what I leave our facility managers with from a thinking standpoint, right? And look, we're not here to stroke anybody's egos or make anybody feel good. It's more to talk about the things that we're all seeing out there. You know, architects get awards. Facility managers get work orders.
Yeah.
The more as a facility manager, you understand that the VE process is designed to help the person who's getting the award at the expense of you who's getting the work order, the more likely you probably are to be engaged in that process and, you know, lively in those meetings and understanding that, because to your point, the second you're not in a meeting is the time that they're going to make that one decision because you weren't there. And now you're stuck with something that, hey, that teak was beautiful and that won a bunch of design awards. It also may have put a financial hole inside your budget because now you don't have the money to do that, or it starts to look like crap after a year.
I'm pretty sure they're not maintaining that to this day.
Yeah. So, you know, that being said, any other kind of final thoughts before we wrap this thing up here?
No, I mean, I think we really kind of hit it on it. You know, our jobs as FMs are crazy. There's a constant pull and need for our attention, and we only have a finite amount of time. But prioritize the time in the front end so that you can save time on the back end.
Really good thoughts. And with that, thanks for joining us with Facilities Unfiltered, the Built Reality. Let's stop fighting fires and start managing the heat.